Alright, what's up? This is Nathaniel from the Spread Effect Show. On this show, I sit down with my boy Cameron Olthius in person here in our lovely studios in La Jolla, California. Cameron was nice enough to shoot down the coast and hang out, so we talked about what it's like being the VP of Search and Social at CBS Interactive. Well, that sounds like a sexy gig, doesn't it? Well, in fact, it is. Cameron oversees Search and Social for big properties, some of which you might have heard of. Download.com, CNET.com, TV.com, CBSSports.com. The list goes on and on. And it's interesting to talk to him because there are a lot of similarities, surprisingly, between, doing on-site SEO optimization, content development, content promotion for big brands and big sites, as there are for running smaller sites. So he took a lot of the things that he'd learned as a consultant and as an entrepreneur in the SEO space and is now applying them on a big scale for CBS. I think you'll enjoy this one quite a bit. It's not every day you get to sit down with somebody who controls some of the biggest web properties in the world, especially when you get to have them come sit in your kick-ass office. We were sitting about 8 inches apart when we did this thing, and we shot it on 3 iPhones, but hey, it looks pretty good. I hope you enjoy it. Hit me up anytime, my friends. Later. Alright, welcome to the first ever live edition of the Spread Effect Show. I'm your host, Nathaniel Broughton. Today I'm joined by Cameron Olthius.
You don't even want to give that a shot?
I've known him for many years, but I cannot pronounce his last name properly, so we're just going to spell it until he says it for us.
I just want to mess around with you for a while.
We're going to have a little fun. As you can see, this is our studio, our magical studio, with the Spread Effect t-shirt and the stickers and everything. But since Cameron is a local here in San Diego, he offered so nicely to come down and hang out in person and do lunch. Little did he know my ghetto setup that I have for the Spread Effect Show, and this was actually more of a challenge than any, but it's going to be the best show yet. So, welcome, Cameron.
Thank you. It's good to be here. And yeah, I didn't realize, otherwise I would have brought my laptop so we could have just sat right next to each other and did the whole Skype thing there.
We are a little closer than you guys probably even expect, but this is what we're making work, and it's going to be fun to talk to Cameron because he's been in SEO longer than I have. We were just talking about the old early 2000 days a minute ago, and he's been in it as a kind of a high-name, high-price consultant. He's been in it as someone who's grown his own properties, his own businesses, and now he is the, what's the title?
Vice President of Search and Social at CBS Interactive.
CBS Interactive, very big property. We were talking at lunch, and, well, very big property. They have tons of properties. They have Download.com, they have CNET, they have TV.com, which was engulfing Clicker, which you were previously at. What are some of the other big brands in there?
So we have Last.fm, CBS.com,
CBS.
CBSSports.com, CBSNews.com,
Yeah, so
GameSpot. So
the biggest sites on the internet, basically.
Right, pretty much 15 of the biggest sites on the internet.
He oversees these from the Search and Social side, and he's got a pretty good crackerjack team. Other guys too that he's brought along with him, but he's the man at the top, and he's working from here in San Diego, and then their main offices, I think, are in San Francisco, right?
Yep. So our headquarters for Interactive is San Francisco.
Okay, cool. So what I want to talk to Cameron about first and foremost is how cool it is to run properties that are that big and how it compares to back in the day. Like, there's so many things that you can do from an SEO standpoint that are just like the basics, I guess, where it's like you got to build links, you got to have clean URLs, you got to have good site structure. When you've got a page that has, or a site that has millions and millions of pages, and they're producing new pieces of content at a volume that you've never seen before if you were consulting with like a small client. Like, how do you wrap your head around that, and what's really some of the big differences that you have to deal with?
So, first of all, we are doing a lot of the basics still. So I've been at CBSI just about 2 years now, and when I got there, SEO had been like a kind of an afterthought for, whatever period before that. And so like part of my role coming on was to like create a SEO strategy and develop a central group and start working with all these individual brands kind of as, we almost work as consultants where, I have a central team, then we go out and work with all these different brands and things. And, a lot of it has been like implementing all those basics and cleaning up like tech issues and, fixing the URL structures, doing a lot of the on-page stuff that you would think probably would have been there. But like I said, like, SEO strategy really wasn't in place when I got there. So.
Gotcha. So I mean, for the last 2 years, that's been a primary focus, is just getting them up to speed on the basics. I mean, is it going to get to a point, you think, where all those things are going to be taken care of, and you're going to have, the focus from there is going to be more like off-page or like new content, or What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. So we're actually going through a process right now where we're re-platforming all of our sites, which is pretty cool because my SEO team has had a chance to like get in the re-platform from the beginning and kind of spec it all out. How like I guess like our dream list would be to have something as SEO'd as you can possibly imagine or whatever. So that's going to be pretty fun. But yeah, so we're going to re-platform all of our sites this year, and that's going to take care of the remaining tech issues that are still there. And that's going to allow us to move on from working on that stuff to focus on like real SEO, where we can start like doing like growth opportunities and like optimizing around keywords and all that other fun stuff that we haven't been able to do as much up until this point.
Okay. Well, this makes me think of one thing. A show I was just doing with my buddy Kevin. It was for our Surety Bonds company, and it's a lot smaller site, maybe like 800 pages. And we start after a Penguin. We noticed we had a lot of pages that were kind of similar, and that's got to be the case inside some of your properties where maybe it's like F1 versus F2 versus F3 of a TV series or something. Might be one example, but maybe you have others. Have you had to come to the point like where you're coming in internally with SEO and be like, we have 10 pages that talk about Cheers season 5 or something on TV or Clicker. We need to consolidate all those down into one because none of these are getting indexed or bringing in much traffic. Is that maybe an example of something you've seen, or does that bring up anything else?
That's a big example of something that we've seen. So it was a big problem. I think we've pretty much got that under control at this point.
Okay.
But like the scenario that you just described, like we ran into that. We also like a lot of our sites had international versions, where the international version would be on like that country's TLD, and they would just repurpose all the content off of the main domains. Yeah. And so we're getting duplicate content issues from there.
Interesting. So that was hurting the .com, the English, because it was.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, how did you are there? So there's tools you use like to uncover the problem that I was talking about, or to like pull in all of our URLs using like Screaming Frog or something like that, something off the shelf. For us small guys, are those the same types of tools you use for enterprise level SEO?
Sure, yeah. I mean, we do use a lot of those tools, like Screaming Frog. We use that, but we also, have done like a lot of custom tools, and we're, going to be building a lot more this year and things. And so that's pretty fun to like, again, just like dream up things from scratch and just build them.
Is that like the biggest luxury of being there? Is like. It sounds like a few times you'd be like, this is what it could be in the perfect world. Right. Will you guys make that happen? And with the deep pockets and the team and the...
Yeah, so it's not just the deep pockets, it's the fact that we have like, SEO buy-in from the top down. Yeah. And so that really is what makes the difference, having somebody at the top of the organization that like understands the value of SEO and champions it across the company. Like, to me, that's worth way more than, like, the deep pockets,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I guess that would be a big reason. I know you kind of came into CBS through acquisition, but that's a big reason for someone, like, who knows SEO really well, like yourself, and who doesn't necessarily have to work, like, this type of job, to work with a team like that, I guess, the scenario.
Yeah, totally. Like, I don't know that I could do the big corporate job if I, wasn't at a place where there was SEO buy-in. Just like, from experience over the years and stuff, like, that's just something that, like, becomes a headache. Sure. And, it's difficult to deal with, and it doesn't make the job fun. So.
Right. So, I'm trying to think about, like, from Small World SEO to these big sites, like if I had CNET, like, is there an issue where, like, there's only so much you can put in a navigation, like, just the site structure would blow my mind. Like, was there things where you had to, like, just recategorize a lot of stuff, move it higher up into the site structure, move it around, up, like, I don't know, dude. It's like, I can't...
All of the above.
Okay, so I can see why it takes, years to figure this stuff out, right?
Like, yeah, like, I didn't expect it to take as long as it has when I first came on. Yeah. But, now that I've, like, kind of, I guess, lifted the cover off it and seen how big some of the problems are, you can then understand, like, why it takes so long to clean up.
Nice.
Yeah.
How many other people are sitting, like, over like the properties, like the size of properties that you have now? I mean, how many sites out there in the world are that big? Like, there's just not that many, right?
Well, collectively, like, CBSI is a top 10 global internet property as like judged by Comscore. So if you want to think about it like that, I mean, there's only 10 other web properties that are bigger than us, and that's I mean, you're looking at Yahoo, Google, Facebook, Amazon.com. So there's not a whole lot of stuff that's, I guess, happening at our scale.
That's pretty sweet. Do you, I mean, I know new acquisitions come along. Are you consulted on those from an SEO standpoint, or have you been to date, or do you expect that to be one of the things?
Yeah, so we haven't done a whole lot of acquisitions. We've done a couple since I've been there, and we definitely get brought into that, and they value our advice very much.
Sweet.
So yeah.
Why do you think that they champion SEO so much at the top at CBS? Because obviously we've heard of cases, probably both personally, of
Right.
that not being the case of big corporations. Why? Why is that?
Having a smart executive team.
Okay.
I mean,
Simple as that.
yeah, I mean, SEO is basically like, well, at this point, 2013, it's like website 101 stuff, right?
Right.
It's like, who has a website that doesn't like focus on social or SEO or like any of the other marketing stuff? So, there's that part of it that helps. And then, Jim Lanzone, who's the president of CBS Interactive, he used to run a search engine himself,
Oh.
Ask.com. And so,
Nice.
it's kind of those two things together, I think,
Okay. Sounds like a good place to be. I'll say that. What about well, first of all, do you keep up with all the chatter in the SEO world? I mean, you've been in this as long as I have. Are you on Search Engine Land and wherever, Search Engine Journal, and keeping up with keeping up with what's out there on a daily basis, on a weekly basis? How do you view it?
So yeah, I stay on top of it pretty closely, but I've also become very selective on which publications like I'll pay attention to, just because there is like so much fluff out there and stuff.
Right.
And then
Well,
like also
what are some of the ones you do read?
like you mentioned, like Search Engine Land. So
Okay.
that's definitely one that I stay on top of.
Okay.
The other thing is that like a lot of the things that people talk about in the SEO industry like doesn't apply to us because we're playing on like such a higher level that it's like a whole different game. So,
Sure. Okay.
yeah,
So like when people are like, this type of link is dead, you probably don't really care.
right.
Let's talk about link building a little bit, because that's a big part of what Spread Effect does, and usually something that we talk about on the show, and people are usually talking about quality over quantity, and don't buy the old footer links and all that. I mean, I don't think any of that's really new. When you look at link building and maybe what has changed, if you guys were to actively go out and try to link build, what type of links would you be trying to build? I mean, I assume with your brand, you'd just be taking advantage of like the platform you have to shout stuff out, and maybe get that out to different bloggers and get them talking, and then whatever links come are the links that come.
Right.
Is that pretty much?
Yeah, so that's pretty accurate. Like in terms of like quantity, like building links, like that's not a problem for us because
Right.
like a site like CNET, like we've already got like literally like hundreds of millions of links that are pointing to it. So it's not a fact of like us building more links. It's about like building the right links, especially for like new events or new products or things that are coming online, so that we
Sure.
can make sure that we're competitive around those. And a lot of the strategies are, like properly leveraging like PR and working closely with our PR group to make sure that, that we're getting the correct links when people are picking up our stuff.
How explicit is that? Like an example of like the PR thing. Are you saying as you guys reach out to these publications, please ask them to include a link? Is it please ask them to include a link to this particular page?
Right. So, we definitely have to be pretty careful there.
Yeah.
So it's more like suggestive stuff, like, let's suggest that they put some links or, whatever type of thing, like, yeah, I guess.
You can't be
like
explicit.
Right. We can't say, like, link to this or whatever.
Right.
It's like, this is what we've got. We think it would be, like, valuable to your readers. And, like, from there, it's, like, pretty natural that people tend to pick it up.
Okay. Are you guys, so, like, if the iPhone 6 comes out, do you guys, I mean, obviously you've got review pages and stuff on CNET, and, like, are you guys creating, like, link-baity, infographic-y content around that sort of, like, the iPhone 6 and trying to put it out there?
So normally no, like some of our events and product releases and launches and stuff, like we may do some of that stuff. We've dabbled a little bit in it, but for something like the iPhone 5, like our review in itself is link-baity because it's like CNET is still like the authority for tech on the internet. So when a big product comes out like that, it's like everybody is like looking to us to like read the review, and from there it just like just spreads. So
I think you're speaking about like some of the reasons why it's great to be a brand these days in SEO.
It's definitely in some ways like it makes some things a lot easier, but
Sure.
in other ways it makes them a lot harder. So
Sure. Okay.
kind of the yin yang there.
I mean, have you seen competitors that aren't like large public companies, like maybe it's just like a tech site going against CNET? have you seen those guys like fall off a little bit just by virtue of like changes in Google? Or I mean, I don't know if you're necessarily even paying attention directly to that, but my understanding would be like if you've got, we used to own laptopreviews.com, and I think CNET is in the top 10 for that.
Right.
And we had the exact match, and we were just kind of messing around with it, honestly. But for us to like be number one for that keyword, I think is a lot different game. Not only with the exact match, but just the way the algorithms are today when competing against CNET. I don't know. Have you seen people kind of disappear off the results? Have you seen more?
So not so much, because
Okay.
like the competitors that we're looking at, that we're comparing ourselves against, are also other big brands,
Yeah.
and we haven't really seen any of them fall off.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I wouldn't expect that to
Yeah.
happen, but it's more likely. I guess what I would expect is more. It's more frequent that it's you and those other two guys for every damn keyword.
Right.
Do you think that's happening?
Yeah, that's pretty
Okay.
pretty fair to say.
And not to like diminish the value of your work, sir, because
Right.
I mean you're doing a lot of things that make that site deserve to be up there too. But I guess the game's just a little different than it used to be for the small guy versus the big guy.
Yeah, and
in
I
some
mean
cases.
the other thing is, because we're like, I mean, we're spread across everything technology-wise, like CNET. And not only are we doing like product reviews, but we're doing like news,
Yeah.
and we have like a whole TV brand there where we do like vidcasts and like TV shows and things like that, and a lot of like subsets of the CNET brand. And so it's hard for us to like pay attention to like the smaller guys on like that kind of like, I guess, niche keyword level.
Right.
So it's us more like watching the same 5-10 big guys that also compete across the same range that we do.
Makes sense.
So
If you guys were to live stream a big event, I guess we can start there.
so we just did live stream the biggest event,
The Super Bowl.
the Super Bowl.
All right, so let's talk
I'd
about
be
that.
happy to talk about that.
While you were live streaming the Super Bowl, what do you do from an SEO standpoint, like to ensure that you get the most benefit out of that? It's almost over my head. Like, what would I do for that? From like the video itself to promoting it to I don't know, the page where it's hosted. Like, what's the SEO components that come into
So
play?
the SEO components all take place like before the live stream. So it's like, it starts out with like doing the keyword research. What are people that are going to be looking for the live stream? What are they going to be searching for? And then starting to build out pages there as far in advance as we can.
Are you relying on external keyword tools for that, or internal searches on your properties
So,
for other events? Okay.
Yeah, we use some of the same keyword tools that everybody uses. We look at the AdWords tool, we look at Google Trends, SEMrush, but then we also look at our own internal data too.
Okay. And are you you're hands-on with this stuff, being like, this is what I think the title tag should be? I mean, that's your role.
So I oversee all that.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, like before like anything goes live, it either like passes through me or so our director of audience development, Aaron Chronister, he's a well-known SEO as well.
Yeah.
So it either passes through either one of us for approval first.
Nice.
So
Sounds like a nice place to be. Speaking of that, so where would you be if... Oh, I guess we're on all these cameras. All right. If you weren't doing CBS Interactive stuff,
Right.
what would you do right now? If you had to jump back into the SEO game, because I know you had the Factive thing, which
Right.
we could maybe talk a little bit about. You did the consulting thing, like big time.
Mhm.
Where would you hop back into the pool, so to speak?
So if I were to hop back into the pool, I think I would go the startup route.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And what would you start? No, an app, something like that. I mean, would you always want to? If you did do a startup, would it rely on SEO in some way, shape, or form? Would it be to drive traffic?
I would like to think that naturally, like SEO would be a big component of it.
Yeah.
Just because that's like kind of in my wheelhouse.
Sure.
But at the same time, like, I don't believe in like putting all your eggs in one basket. So it's something
Right.
I would definitely want that, could be diversified. Strong
Right.
social components, strong direct traffic, referral traffic, anything else. I would make sure that there would be that element as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've changed in that. Like, you would ask me that 5 years ago. I'd be looking for the domain to buy, and
Right.
I'd be ranking, and I'd be like, all right, we're gonna kill it because we're gonna rank number one, and we're gonna get all these leads or all these sales, and I don't see it that way anymore. And I guess
Well, the game's changed so
Yeah.
much, right? Like even just in the last couple of years, like it's a completely new ball game, like SEO, and it's changing at like a pace that we've never seen before. So that like there's that part of it as well. Because I agree with you. Like a handful of years ago, I would have just like total SEO play.
right, snowboard.com.
Yeah,
Like,
all
kill
day,
it.
all day long. Didn't we talk about doing that too?
Yeah, snowboard.com.
Ski.com or
Yeah,
something.
that would have been a nice one. I like that when I called you about it. Like, sounds good. Let's try it. I was like, is he serious? I just called him. And I don't even know what I'm doing yet. But yeah, it is a little bit different these days, but not in a bad way. Not in a bad way.
No, not actually. I think it's good. You know, I know a lot of the little guys aren't going to agree with me, but I feel like Google's kind of finally put their money where their mouth was, because you know, like all these years they kept talking about, like, you know, if you have the best brand, if you have the best site, if you offer the most value to a user for whatever specific set of keywords, like that's what we want to rank.
Right.
And for years and years and years that wasn't the case, but it's fine. It's still not there yet, but it's definitely like got a lot closer and a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, basically they like got their shit together. It's kind of like, what happened, right? More power to them. Actually, so I thought of two things that people have been talking about, like SEO trend-wise, when we've been doing these interviews. One, like length of content.
Mm-hmm.
They're like saying if you don't have 1,500 words on a page, your pages they're falling from the rankings, organic traffic of pages, like right at that line. You know, you can see the ones with less content doing a lot worse, the ones with more content doing a lot better. And, you know, I think back in the day when we would build sites, we would say each page has to have 250 words, and maybe that's just like the new barrier or something. Right. Who knows where these things come from, but you got to pick something and go with it. Do you see that inside your properties where content that's a lot longer is ranking for keywords and performing better than thinner pages?
So in some cases yes, in some cases no. Like, you know, as we both know, like SEO is very situational, right? So what works on one site for one keyword isn't going to work for even the same site for a different keyword, or a different site for a different keyword. So it's very situational. We try to look at it more like, what kind of unique value are we going to bring to like a searcher that lands on our page? So it's not necessarily like looking at the length of content. Like, if our content only needs to be 2 paragraphs to offer more value than the guy that's 1,500 word long or whatever, like that's the route we'll go.
Okay.
So,
I mean, that does make sense. And like, if you think Google's like trying to serve up the page with the most useful content or whatever, that goes along with that thinking. And there's no reason that 1,500 words is always the best.
Right.
But I guess like algorithmically, it could have been something that got tossed in and saw a couple people get kicked in the nuts, and now it's out on the blogosphere. Right?
So I mean, we've actually done like a lot of testing, like specifically around that. Like on some of our sites, like we may like paginate like an article or a review or something, and so we tested like the difference of, you know, if we put all of that content on one page, on one URL, instead of spreading it across 2, would that help us? And to be honest, like we didn't really see much of a lift, if any, from doing it. So
do you guys ever do it where you break up a top 20 list into 20 pages because you want the page views? I feel like some sites, none of yours, are notorious for that.
Yeah, so it's so have we done it? Sure, we've done it, but it's not like a strategy. It's not something that we sit down and think like, how can we like juice the maximum amount of like page
I mean, I don't think
views?
it's gonna be like, we're gonna be rich because we thought of this.
Yeah, no, it's usually like, you know, when it comes to stuff like that, we usually leave it up to the product people.
Gotcha.
And they're generally not thinking, you know, the same things we are. They're not thinking like, let's, you know, try and juice as much traffic out of this or bring as many eyeballs as this. It's like, what can, you know, like almost the best user experience. So that's what they're looking to do, and in some cases that, you know, that's what provides the best user experience for photo galleries or slideshows or things like that. And so they'll do that, and
that makes
other
sense.
times no. So,
well, that made me think. Well, shit. There's one other thing I want to say about topics that come up. The other one was like co-citation. I guess people are calling it this. It used to have co-citation used to mean something else from where I came from, but whatever. We'll use it again. Basically, you know, it doesn't matter. Like the death of anchor text, the death of even links. If you have a link or if you're not, it's the words, the context that your brand or your site is mentioned around in articles around the web. So it's basically like either throwing out links altogether or just saying that we've got a link to TV.com. But in and around links to TV.com, it's very frequent that people mention Super Bowl. And therefore, TV.com is going to start to rank more for the Super Bowl. What do you think about that that discussion? I doubt you guys have done like tests maybe on that. Maybe you have, but it's interesting to me as like a content producer and a link builder and having that as a service, because that could kind of change the game for what we do. Right. But I don't know. What's your guesstimate on that?
That would be hard to test around. So we haven't done any testing to answer that question. What are my thoughts around it? Like I absolutely like buy into that. I think it's something that was like introduced years and years and years ago.
Right.
Maybe not that far, you know, like 5 years ago, whatever, like sentiment analysis, like things like that. And so I think it's just like over time, they've gotten better and better at it. So I think that they're like, making that a bigger part of like the ranking factor, the algorithms and things like that. And
If you were
I think
running
we'll probably continue to improve on it would be my best guess.
I hope so. I mean, I really hope we get to that point because anchor text and jamming in links has always been such a pain point for doing this and doing it tactfully and tastefully and whatever else. So it would be nice to get to more along the lines of like traditional PR, just publishing content that the algorithms were smart enough to realize this was associated with this, and it didn't have to take, manipulating a link in there or something. That would be nice. Okay, cool. What about mobile for you guys? From an SEO standpoint, how does that work, like technically wise? Maybe I should ask Aaron this stuff. I don't know, but I mean, a lot of people, I go to the sites and I don't know shit about mobile, so I know nothing. And you get it automatically redirects you to m.tv.com or whatever. Right. Do you have to get involved with the SEO metrics, quality, whatever stuff to put on the mobile site as well?
Yeah. So like technically wise, you're right. You would have to ask Aaron the questions. Yeah. But I can tell you that like it's pretty close to 25% of like clicks now are coming from mobile, and so that has to be like a big part of your strategy, right? And so like mobile SEO is a big part of our strategy, and depending on like how our product guys want to do mobile for the different sites, like we kind of have to adapt to that and like make that as search friendly as we possibly can.
Gotcha.
So, but we're definitely very focused on that.
Is there anything different, like with the basics, that is different between mobile and web and the stuff that you guys are doing, whether it's like title tags, like the content, internal link stuff, like something that's like basic and the way it's always been done on the web that's a little bit different from mobile? Or is it the same principles?
It's generally the same principles.
Okay. So can you just copy your title tags over to the mobile version, or can you just have it pull those, I guess?
Yeah, like what we really try to do is one URL for any piece or any device.
Yeah.
And just do like adaptive design and like all that kind of stuff. And so that's like option one. That's our best option that we try to push people in. It doesn't always work out that way. Like different brands want to do it different ways for different reasons, whether it makes sense from like product wise or engineering wise or whatever it is. But we generally try to like go that route, and like a lot of the principles are definitely the same across mobile as they are.
What about mobile promotion? Like, and maybe this is something you guys might be doing in the future, but going out there and putting out content, getting people talking, building links, whatever that falls into. Do you think you'll have a different strategy for mobile, and any ideas or hints at what that might be, or is that in the future to be figured out?
I think it's probably a lot of it like in the future to be figured out.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's all can be the same. Everybody's using all the devices. Like it can just be cross device that can still work. But
you're just making sure like the experience is the best for like that device, and not necessarily like taking the same web experience and just like porting that over to like your mobile device. It's like trying to like figure out exactly like the best way for somebody to use it if they're on a different device. And like kind of optimizing around that, like that's like one of the big differences that I can see.
That makes sense. I mean, you don't have to look at it like, oh, we need a whole new strategy for mobile. Like the most important thing is that our strategy can be consumed and enjoyed and shared across the platforms. The strategy is basically the same, I would guess.
Right.
Okay. Well, let's talk about lifestyle a little bit, because we both sit in San Diego all day and don't do anything and just surf, right? That's what everybody thinks, but that's not exactly true. I mean, first of all, living here, like you moved here from Utah, right? And you lived in Canada originally, right? All right.
So originally from Canada, grew up in Utah, and then I've been here 10, 11 years now.
And why San Diego?
San Diego, right? Like
you don't got to sell me. You got to sell them. No.
So I wanted something different than Utah, like and so I started looking around and found some opportunities here in Southern California, and that's kind of what brought me.
Nice.
And then once I got here, I was just like, I never want to leave. Like this, how can it get any better than this? So.
Did you surf at the time, or did you start when you got here?
No, I didn't surf at the time, but I grew up doing like all the different action sports, like snowboarding and skiing and skateboarding and wakeboarding and all that stuff. And so
natural extension of that.
I thought it was going to be a natural extension. I thought I would just pick up surfing, like it was just an offshoot of one of those, but it was pretty humbling. Like it took me a while to learn that.
I wish I was as good as you are now, man. Like I'm still in that I'm terrible stage, and I don't know how to get over it. I guess I just need like a decade behind me and keep going out there and get my ass kicked by the waves. But what else are some of your favorite surf spots besides San Diego? Like, are you get down to like Costa Rica?
Yeah. So when I was at Clicker before CBS bought us, I spent 6 weeks in Costa Rica.
Nice.
Just saw a little hotel on the surf beach, which was pretty awesome.
That's beautiful.
I've been to Nicaragua, Hawaii, in a few other spots. I'm hopefully looking to expand on that.
Nice.
I've got a few destinations in mind, but we'll see.
So working for the big, the big behemoth, you're still able to maintain pretty much the lifestyle that you're accustomed to and enjoy. But you also qualify that with you still have to work pretty hard, right?
I mean, I definitely work a lot harder than I did before, and when I was at the startup, it's a lot harder work now.
Yeah.
But I am able to still work from home and live here in San Diego. Kind of definitely like keep my lifestyle for the most part. So I'm pretty fortunate in that area.
Sure. Nice. Well, anything else for the Spread Effect crew?
You tell me. What else are your listeners, watchers, viewers, readers, whatever?
I don't know, man. I think they'll just be impressed with everything we talked about, like managing a big site like that. That's certainly different than anybody else we could ever have on here. I mean, that's crazy.
If you want to talk about like, I don't know, numbers or like dive into some specifics, I'll try to answer what I can. But.
Sure. No, I think this has been good. Maybe we'll have to have you on again when I have a real studio. And
how long do these normally go for? Is it just like
about 30 minutes?
Okay. I feel like with all the edits, it's gonna end up being like 5.
No. We'll make it work. But yeah. No, that was good. I appreciate you coming down and enjoying me in my little corner of the world here. I wish everyone could see how sweet it is. We'll be giving Cameron, of course, one of our sweet Spread Effect shirts with our dope logos on it. Maybe one of the stickers, right there. You can throw it on his laptop. And, yeah, man, thanks for coming. I can finally shake somebody's hand in person on the Spread Effect show. And we'll see you guys next time. Later.